George Strait's legendary life and career. George Strait is the undeniable king of country music. He has a music career that spans more than 30 years, and that includes 60 #1 singles, more than any other artist in any genre. He boasts 33 platinum or multi-platinum selling albums, more than any country artist, and third across all genres behind only Elvis Presley and the Beatles. Truly a legend. If you're new to our channel, you're going to want to head on over and hit that subscribe button. If you're ready to have your mind blown, ring that notification bell as well, so you'll never miss another video. Let's dive in. Who is George Strait? He isn't called the King for nothing. George Strait is one of the most popular and influential artists of all time that will forever go down in history as one of the best. He holds a record for 60 #1 hits. Let that sink in for a second. 60 songs that were ranked as #1. If that isn't enough validation for his nickname, then I don't know what is. He's third only to Elvis Presley and the Beatles for having the most gold and platinum albums in the history of music. He is the only artist from any genre ever to have a top 10 hit song every year for 30 stinking years. He is the man. Life before stardom. In Poteet, Texas, he was raised on a cattle ranch and spent the summers working on the ranch with his parents, brother, and sister. When he was in 3rd grade, his parents divorced. His mother took his sister to live with her, while George and his brother stayed with his father. During high school, Strait was part of a rock band, but soon turned to country music. After high school, he entered college at Southwest Texas State University, but dropped out and eloped with his high school sweetheart Norma in Mexico. Strait left the Army in 1975, resumed his studies at Southwest Texas State University, and graduated with a degree in agriculture in 1979. While at the university, he joined the country band Stony Ridge, later renamed Ace in the Hole, which played regularly in the clubs near campus. Strait tried repeatedly to promote his music in Nashville, but the industry executives balked, doubting the appeal of his traditional style in a market then dominated by a slicker image and a pop country sound. Why is he so popular? He has always been one of the favorite artists because he really knows who he is. He stays true to his traditionalist country style and definitely rocks his cowboy hat. He isn't some wannabe or try-hard country artist. He's the real deal. He's known for being one of the main artists to bring country back to its roots and away from the upcoming popular style of pop country that started in the 80s. With his first single in 1981, Unwound, he started what would soon become a very successful 35-year career full of hit songs, none of which wavered from his original traditional style. If you look at every song he has sung throughout the years, his style truly remained the same. From his first hit, Full-Hearted Memory, to his latest hit album, Cold Beer Conversation, George has stayed true to the artist he once was and has proven to be one of the most authentic artists around. Taste of Country says, so many of Strait's most recent releases could be found on albums from the 80s, 90s, or 2000s, and Cold Beer Conversation is no different. It's smooth and timeless, but subtly different from all that have come before it. When we think of what makes a song or an artist country, we think of the twang in the artist's voice, the simple instruments like guitar and piano, and the story-like lyrics that touch on the life of a cowboy. George Strait has all of these aspects in each of his songs. He is a pro at writing love songs. George Strait really knows what he's doing, and for that, he will leave a huge mark on country music. His legacy goes on as the king of country music. All hail King George. George Strait, finding fame in 1981. George Strait first found success with the release of his first single, Unwound, in 1981. His debut album, titled Strait Country, was a smashing success. In fact, in the 1980s, 7 of Strait's albums reached #1 on the country charts. In 1982, George released his second album titled Straight from the Heart, which featured the hit songs Full-Hearted Memory and the ever-famous Amarillo by Morning. He continued to produce hit after hit in the 1980s, with singles like Nobody in His Right Mind Would Have Left Her and Ace in the Hole, Oceanfront Property, and All My Exes Live in Texas. In the early 90s, Strait released his 10th studio album titled Livin' It Up, featuring the hit Love Without End, Amen. He released 6 more albums in the 90s, and finished off the decade with Always Never the Same in 1999. Soft and kind-hearted. George Strait has discovered that when he isn't wearing a cowboy hat, people often don't realize that he is George Strait. In San Antonio, where he lives, he can usually visit restaurants unmolested, so long as he doesn't smile too widely, because he is famous for his smile, which is bright and crooked. One time in Key West, where he records, he was sitting outside the studio, naked from the neck up, when a woman accosted him. She said, "My husband says that George Strait is in there, cutting a record. and I told him that can't be true. Why would he cut a record in this little place? Strait's response was not, strictly speaking, a lie. He said, "Honey, I was just in there, and I didn't see him." He is, by some measures, the most popular country music singer of all time, and by any measure, the most consistent. What is he doing nowadays? Strait recently turned 65, and he is officially semi-retired. In 2012, he announced that he was quitting the touring life, and after a 2-year send-off tour, he played a final show at AT&T Stadium, the home of the Dallas Cowboys, in front of more than 100,000 people. He didn't quit recording though, and in 2015 he announced a series of weekend concerts in Las Vegas. Louis Messina, Strait's promoter, likes to point out that this is not a traditional Vegas residency, a washed-up star imprisoned in a casino theater, entertaining a few hundred fans and gamblers night after night. Strait is an arena headliner, not a lounge act, and every night the pre-show playlist pays subtle tribute to his staying power. Concertgoers hear a selection of recent country hits: Take a Back Road by Rodney Atkins, Girl in a Country Song by Maddie and Tay, Rewind by Rascal Flatts, Might Get Lucky by Darius Rucker. What they have in common is that all of them mention Strait. Rucker sings Dance Around the Kitchen to a George Strait song, hoping like the others to borrow some of Strait's unimpeachable country credibility. Acting in several motion pictures. Strait has acted in several motion pictures, including a big part in 1982 in The Soldier, and probably his most well-known part as the star of Pure Country in 1992. In 1995, Strait released a 4-CD box set. This became the second biggest selling box set ever. Other albums followed annually, starting with Blue Clear Sky in 1996, then One Step at a Time, Always Never the Same, and George kept going strong, scoring 50 #1 hits on the country charts by 2004, and releasing an album celebrating the milestone. Always a big touring act in the 1990s, he headlined the George Strait Country Music Festival, taking rising stars on tour with him, who went on to become superstars themselves, such as Tim McGraw, Kenny Chesney, the Dixie Chicks, Faith Hill, and Alan Jackson. His personal life. George married his high school sweetheart, Norma, in 1971. They had 2 children together, Jennifer in 1972, and George Strait Jr., who was born in 1981. In 1986, the Strait family was struck with tragedy, as their 13-year-old daughter Jennifer died in a one-vehicle collision. After the accident, George limited his contact with the media in order to grieve. Him and his wife are still very much in love today, and they make relatively common public appearances together. How cute is that? Did you know? In 2018, the Country Music Hall of Fame member had been named Texan of the Year by the Texas Legislative Conference, a statewide group of business and political leaders. Every year, the honorary title is given to a Texas resident who made a notable impact on the state. George Strait was chosen for his fundraising efforts in the wake of widespread flooding following Hurricane Harvey. So, this was all about our legendary George Strait. What are your thoughts about him? Which track of his is your favorite? Let us know in the comments section. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Also, hit the bell icon button so that you'll get a notification whenever we post a new video.